In 1927, a Russian psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik made a discovery that explains why you have 17 half-finished projects and can't stop thinking about any of them.
She noticed that waiters could perfectly remember complicated, unfilled orders, but once the food was served and the table cleared, they forgot every detail.
This became known as the Zeigarnik Effect. Our brains are wired to fixate on unfinished tasks.
But here's the twist. Instead of helping us finish them, that mental fixation often makes us avoid them entirely.
If you've ever wondered why starting feels exciting but finishing feels impossible, today's conversation will change everything.
So let's start with what's actually happening in your brain.
The Zeigarnik Effect reveals that unfinished tasks create something psychologists call cognitive load. It's like mental clutter. Those half-finished goals take up brain space even when you're not consciously thinking about them.
And that explains why you're folding laundry, driving to work, or trying to fall asleep, and suddenly your brain shouts, "You still haven't finished that proposal!"
Exactly. Dr. Zeigarnik's original study showed that people recalled interrupted tasks 90% better than completed one. Your brain literally can't let go of unfinished business.
Which sounds helpful until you realize that every open loop adds another tab in your mental browser.
Right, and when your brain's bandwidth fills up, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision making and follow through, starts to shut down.
So instead of getting more done, your brain does the opposite. It freezes.
Your brain's actually trying to help you remember, but in the process, it's sabotaging your ability to finish.
So if our brains are wired this way, what makes finishing so difficult, especially for the high-achieving women like us?
Let's break it down behaviorally. Pattern 1, the novelty eviction. Starting new goals gives us a dopamine rush. New projects, clean slates, endless potential.
Oh, I love a good fresh start. New planner, new project, new color-coded labels, instant motivation.
But finishing? That's when the dopamine drops. There's no novelty, just a slog of execution.
And that's where we bail. Not because we're lazy, but because our brains crave that new goal high again.
Pattern number 2, the perfectionism trap. As we approach the finish line, the stakes get higher. What if it's not good enough? What if people judge it?
So we endlessly revise or quietly abandon it because quitting feels safer than failing.
Pattern number 3, the cognitive overload spiral. Every unfinished task increases your mental burden. With so many open loops, you can't focus on finishing anything.
And finally, pattern number 4, the moving the goalpost. Somewhere between starting and finishing, we change the definition of done.
What began as a simple course launch suddenly becomes a 12-module, fully branded curriculum.
Or training for a 5K turns into, well, maybe I'll just do a marathon.
These aren't flaws. They're actually predictable psychological patterns. But if you don't recognize them, they'll quietly run your entire business.
This is where it gets really interesting because how you get trapped in the start but don't finish cycle depends on your type A archetype.
Let's start with the overplanner. You don't just know your goals, you know every subtask, color code, and contingency plan.
Oh yes, and because your brain can see every unfinished detail, the cognitive load is massive. So instead of finishing, you retreat to planning.
You tell yourself, if I just refine the system, I'll get back on track. But all that planning becomes a form of procrastination.
Then there's the hustler. She's addicted to starting. That dopamine hit from new projects feels like progress, even when nothing's finished.
The hustler is constantly adding goals before completing the old ones. She's got 5 projects at 70% and 0 actually done.
And finally, the avoider. Her brain's so overloaded by all the unfinished tasks that she's paralyzed by anxiety.
For the avoider, the Zeigarnik Effect doesn't create motivation, it creates avoidance.
And here's the kicker. Research shows that the completion anxiety increases as we get closer to finishing.
It's not motivation you're missing, it's a strategy for managing your brain's completion wiring.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem. Let's talk about what actually works to help us finish.
Strategy 1, the completion ritual. Research from Harvard shows that tracking small wins releases dopamine, keeping the motivation alive.
So when you finish something, even a small task, celebrate it. Close the loop with intention. That's how your brain gets the closure it craves.
Strategy number 2, the Open Loop Audit. List every unfinished project or commitment you've got. Choose 3 to complete and officially abandon the rest.
That's so freeing. I've literally felt mental relief just deciding I'm not going to do that right now.
Exactly. Dr. Zeigarnik's research showed that making a clear decision to stop actually releases the cognitive energy tied up in that task.
Strategy 3, redefine done. From the beginning, decide the minimum viable version of success. What's the smallest version that would still count as finished?
This prevents scope creep and protects you from moving the goalpost trap.
Strategy 4, the progress checkpoint system and regular reviews into your goals, weekly for short-term, monthly for long-term.
These checkpoints give your brain a sense of closure along the way, which lowers overwhelm and increases consistency.
And strategy 5, single tasking sprints. Research from Stanford shows multitasking decreases efficiency by up to 40%.
So focus on one goal at a time until completion. You'll finish faster and feel more energized.
So here's your homework. And yes, I said homework.
Start by doing an open loop audit. Write down every unfinished goal or project that's living rent-free in your brain right now.
Then pick 3 that matter most and make a decision about the rest. Finish, delegate, or delete.
For those top 3, define done before you take another single step. Add progress checkpoints, and above all, finish one before starting another.
The goal isn't to stop starting, it's to start finishing.
Because when you work with your brain instead of against it, you create real momentum.
And if you're wondering which type A pattern is sabotaging your follow-through, overplanner, hustler, or avoider,
take our free Type A quiz. It'll show you exactly how your wiring affects your ability to finish and how to fix it.
because understanding the psychology of completion is the first step.
Implementing strategies that fit your wiring, that's what turns great starters into consistent finishers.
And that's where real freedom begins.
And speaking of freedom, in our next video, we're diving into why your brain confuses productivity with worth, and finally, how to separate the two.
You won't want to miss that one.
And don't forget, close a loop today, even a small one. Your brain will thank you for it.